For this video, we're going to look at question 39, which is a transition words question. There are 3 to 5 of these on your test. I'm going to write that down, 3 to 5. And you'll be able to identify questions like these because they'll use the same set of transition words, like nevertheless, however, similarly. Let's take a quick look at the context from this passage, which is about job sharing. Let me start at the top of the paragraph. Effective communication is crucial to the success of a job sharing arrangement. In determining how working time and responsibilities would be divided, steps were taken by Levine and Rocco. That's a little awkward. I bet that the right answer for that wouldn't be as phrased in the passive voice. But steps were taken by Levine and Rocco to ensure that the arrangement provided fluidity and consistency for the employees whom they jointly managed. It's our job to be seamless, they noted. And here's the question part. Nevertheless, they each planned to work 3 days a week with a day of overlap on Wednesdays. They also planned to talk on the phone each evening to discuss the day's work. Let's stop reading there. So we have nevertheless underlined. We have these other transition words or phrases as our choices. So now the question is, how do we narrow this down? What's our strategy for a question about transition words? Well, what you're trying to determine is whether or not this transition word, in this case the underlined one is nevertheless, if nevertheless is correct for its context or if it needs to be replaced. So it helps to figure out what sort of example is being introduced by the transition. Is it supporting a point? Is it contrasting with a point? So if Levine and Rocco are sharing a job, if they're both the manager for a group of people, and they say, it's our job to be seamless, then that doesn't seem like there should be a contrast with nevertheless. Like, despite their being seamless, they overlap in the middle of the work week, which seems to support the idea that they do have kind of a seamless turnover. Let's look at our choices. So we've got nevertheless, which is no change, to this end, however, and similarly. And a great top tip for these sorts of questions, that if you have two choices that are pretty much identical in meaning, so in this case, however and nevertheless, we have these like contrast or despite this terms, that's a good indication that neither is the answer. So I'm going to just cross those out. I'm going to cross out C and I'll cross out A. So look for, that's your first top tip, is look for copycats. Because if you see two that are awfully similar, it means that neither one is right, most likely. It's our job to be seamless, so how do they accomplish that? And the examples given here is they each plan to work 3 days a week with a day of overlap. They also plan to talk on the phone each evening to discuss the day's work. So they're discussing how they make job sharing seamless. Of our 2 remaining choices, which one best connects the idea of it's our job to be seamless to the examples of how they put that into action? So we have B, to this end. I think that's the answer. Because this end is being seamless. That's their goal. Versus similarly. Well, similar to what? There is no comparison being made in this part of the paragraph that we can see. So I'm going to say D is not our answer, and B is. So look for copycat choices, identify the purpose of the transition, and then look for a choice that matches that purpose. Is it comparing? Is it contrasting? Is it setting up examples to illustrate an earlier point? You'll need to read around in the immediate context of the sentence, but don't look too far, because it's all about the mechanics of the sentences within that paragraph.